feel like there's some kind of elements of like Node and Mesmer in there with some of the more ambient melodic stuff. As we were putting it together, we were like, there's definitely elements of everything in here, and it's not just like what's coming next. It's like let's kind of maybe take a moment to, look back and kind of fit everything else into what we're doing now.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com. Once again, I am so excited to be joined by Marcus of Northlane. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good to be back. How are you?
Great to be back. Talking to you in the future because it is Monday morning in Australia as we
Absolutely.
record this, and it is Sunday night here on the west coast of the U.S. We're only divided by a sea. We're not divided by technology, luckily.
Hmm.
I'm so pleased to talk to you again. I was just saying offline how much I really enjoyed our last convo. About a year and a half, 14 months since the last chat. Banger album and a whole bunch of activity for the band. And now we have this little fun EP to tide us over. So Mirror's Edge is coming out soon, and I wanted to delve into all of it with you. What's up with the band so far in 2024? How are y'all doing out there?
Yeah, we're doing well. I guess the year started with us, or I guess last year ended with us releasing Dante, and that was kind of the start of a whole new phase for us. But it's been a pretty quiet kind of year, I guess. We had like the Australian tour at the start of the year, which was, a lot of fun, and just had a few little shows here and there, but ramping up to kind of get into a big second half with with the EP and the US tour that we've just announced as well.
Oh, we're so excited to get you back over here, and I hope I can get out to a show because you guys are phenomenal live. The one time I did get to see you in the past, and let me just unpack a little something with you for a second. For us in the rest of the world that don't quite understand the geography of Australia, right? U.S. is vast, right? You could drive from state to state. Some of them take a long time to get across, some don't. Western Europe, where we were originally based out of, very intimate, 1-2 hours to each city in most cases, with a few exceptions. Australia's got like 5, 6, 7 major cities, but they're all far apart. So
Absolutely.
is it harder for you to do almost a home tour because it's so laborious to go from city to city?
Yeah, it is interesting. I've been thinking about it a bit lately, actually. Just the idea of like there's some comfort to it because obviously you are at home, but because of the way we usually do it, which is like, 2 or 3 shows over a weekend, it's not really possible to like we could drive and do like the drives overnight, but turn up at the show kind of exhausted the next day. But that's just not really something we can do in Australia because it is so, I don't know, just so long and so far between. But that being said, you still have to then wake up really early every day and fly into the city. And I feel like there's no real way to get into like a good rhythm on the Australian tour unless you have like a show every day and you're kind of slowly making your way up the coast or whatever. But that being said, I mean, I love playing Australia, and I think that's something I can put up with, having to kind of not be able to get into a rhythm to play our tours back home. But the US obviously and Europe as well have a lot more to offer and so many more places to kind of sink your teeth into. So very different experiences.
Right on. And then I get the sense that you don't over tour at home as well at the same time. Maybe earlier in your career, you constantly hit the same places, but it seems like, at least from the outside looking in, that maybe you're a little more selective about how much touring you do close to home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once again, because there are only a few major places you can play, if you're playing too often, then people are, going to be like, well, we'll just see them next time, And I feel like we like to still build up a little bit of suspense and, and some expectation of something big coming. And we don't want people to kind of just, get used to us being around and just be like, well, they're always going to be around. So we'll maybe catch the next one. But that being said, we also like to do like regional runs, which is, playing smaller country and coastal towns. And we'll do that every now and then as well to kind of fill those gaps and make sure those people in, the less central places get some shows as well.
Right on. Do you have a personal preference between like the intimate club, the bigger theater with a little more production, or outdoors at a festival?
I mean, it's been a lot of fun, particularly the last couple of tours doing the headline thing and having our own kind of stage set up. It feels like we've kind of gotten to a place where we've this production that we're really happy with. So I feel like playing kind of headline capital city shows at the moment feels, really good because it feels like we're finally at a point where our vision feels like it's being matched on stage as well. But that being said, like everything has, its benefits, and I mean, I love the smaller shows because there is such a crazy energy half the time because they don't get the shows there, and they need once a band comes through, they're just letting it all out. We just played a little place called Wagga Wagga, which is like kind of southern New South Wales in Australia, and that's a place we played a couple of times, and every time they just go absolutely mental, and they just have a good time. They're also really like cool and like take care of each other, but so rowdy. So I mean, there's something so good about, I don't know. I just love playing shows, to be honest. So wherever it is, I don't really mind. But yeah, there's something about everything that kind of has its.
Right on. I feel like I can tell, having seen you, that A, you love performing, and I feel like you really care about getting your delivery across to everyone in the room. You're not just like, I know a couple of artists have said, oh, I wear contacts and I can't see anybody. So I just sing to the back of the room. That's how we were taught when I was a vocalist in a band,
Mhm.
marginally successful under, local band. But I feel like you perform to every single person in the room, and I felt that deeply in the room with you. So I think that's one of the best attributes you have as a vocalist and a performer live.
Well, I appreciate that. And I mean, for me, I'm a pretty shy, introverted person off the stage. So when I'm on the stage, that is kind of the time where I feel kind of that confidence and that ability to connect with people that are watching us. And hopefully the people that are there are people who are, passionate about our music. And I hope that we can connect on some level. That is something that, I don't know. It is important to me to be doing that while I'm up there.
You mentioned that in our last interview that you were a bit of an introvert, and the dark times of the plague years were
Hmm.
okay because you were just home working on your craft and other things. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I feel like you're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Awesome because again, when you get in front of the microphone, in front of people, or again, these albums are fantastic. I feel like it's a different side of you we get to share and see.
Definitely. That's where I'm at home, like in the studio as well as where I'm like definitely the most free because that's also where I'm around, the rest of the band who are the people who I'm, most close and comfortable with. And particularly when it comes to music, it's like I can just be open and kind of just be dumb, let my dumb ideas kind of flow and see what sticks. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's always just about just being true to what I want to be doing and putting out there and hoping that it works with what everyone else wants to be doing. And then after that, hoping people connect with it as well. And then, we just kind of take it from there. But yeah, music's kind of my thing. That's what I do.
Indeed, indeed, it is your thing. First time I think ever anyone has called themselves dumb. That's not me on one of these interviews. So I know you're being humble, and I appreciate you, man. You're not dumb. And it's not things you say and do are not dumb. But let's talk a little bit about the EP because one thing, journalists, we have lizard brains, right? And I say this all the time. Thank you, publicists everywhere, for doing a great job in most cases. And this bio that was written for this release, that was kind of describing the process of the release, remarked that it was kind of like a greatest hits of all the eras of the band. And as I was listening to this thing 3-4 times all the way through on a loop, I was like, man, it is true. There's like the groovy stuff that I think you guys, it's like unsung gems of the band are these like dirgy, slower, groovy metal songs. You got the very up tempo, dancey, fast tracks. There's some
Mhm.
killer breakdowns. There's great guest appearances. I do feel like it is whoever wrote this. Mwah, chef's kiss. Whoever it is, thank you, Atomsplitter PR, for sending this along to me and connecting you and I. But yeah, man, it is like a greatest hits EP a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think going into the EP, we definitely had in mind, like with not doing an album, we don't have to maybe have an overarching theme to every song or something that ties everything together or a particular sound that maybe ties the whole record together. It gave us a bit more freedom to, just explore kind of everything we've done, not feel like we need to maybe keep pushing even more into the synth sound thing, maybe go back and explore some more, guitar heavy things or keep blending it, but in a way with some older maybe sounds from our back catalog. I feel like there's some kind of elements of like Node and Mesmer in there with some of the more ambient melodic stuff. But then it still has some kind of the modern Northlane sound in there as well. So yeah, it was definitely as we were putting it together, we were like, there's definitely elements of everything in here, and it's not just like what's what's coming next. It's like let's kind of maybe take a moment to, look back and kind of fit everything else into what we're doing now.
Oh man, I dig it so much, and I just want to shout out these phenomenal guest appearances. I don't know if you just rang up your mates or you wrote a song with them in mind, but what unbelievable performances came dialed in with these guests. Wow.
Absolutely. We were super grateful. And yeah, particularly, Winston and Ian, they're like two kind of cornerstone vocalists in bands that are like so important to Northlane and to like just heavy Australian music in general. I think for us, Parkway is a band that kind of put heavy music on the map for us and kind of gave bands like us the ability to do this and tour overseas, and they really showed everyone how to do it. And then Carnival, I feel like, is a band that like influenced the kind of second coming of Northlane and the newer sound. And I feel like as I was joining the band, it was a band that was uh really influential to Northlane, Carnival, and ever since then, like we've all been such massive fans. And when this song kind of when Afterimage was kind of coming about, it was like this feels like a bit of a Carnival tribute song in a little way, and we can even maybe shift it even more in that direction if we can get Ian on the track and maybe see if that will work. And we're so grateful that they were both happy to do it, and they were both really excited to jump on a track as well. So yeah, and then also having Brendon back, our former bassist and very good friend. It just kind of felt like the perfect trinity of like these two vocalists who are so important to us, but then someone else who's also been in the band and been in the fold and has like been so important to a change in our sound as well. Because I think having him during Alien was like so crucial as well. Yeah, I was really, really happy that we could get all these fellas on these tracks, and they turned out really good.
Yeah, I have been a massive Carnival fan for a very long time, and I keep waiting for them to kind of get their flowers here in the States. I think they're still kind of an underground phenomenon here. Definitely
Yeah,
appreciated, but like should be bigger. Maybe we get that
cult
Northlane.
following.
Yeah, it is a
It's
bit of a
yeah,
cult following here. Maybe Parkway can put this together like a package and bring you all here.
yeah,
Because I'm
that'd be
selfish and
wild.
that's what I want. That's what I want. I'm just gonna wish it into the universe. So let's do a little track by track. My favorite thing to do with you, and
Mhm.
it's pretty short, so we'll get right through it. And I love the opening, sort of very ethereal Mirror's Edge title track
Mhm.
setup for the whole record. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that originally, I think it was originally just part of the song Afterimage, and we were kind of toying around with just keeping it on as like one full track. But then we thought if we were calling the song, sorry, calling the EP Mirror's Edge, like it did kind of feel like a perfect introduction to then the rest of the EP as well. So yeah, I guess that kind of leads into Afterimage as well, which for me, yeah, is like it's quite a personal song, and it's kind of touching on some stuff that I was dealing with through lockdown, dealing with like some family matters. I won't go too deep into that, but I guess the idea of it is pretty much this idea of, having these people that you don't want to let down, but feeling like anything you could do could let them down. And you just want to make sure that if you're going to be there for them, that you're like capable of doing that. And that you're not going to kind of disappoint them. And I guess for me, this EP is also trying. I wanted this EP to feel a bit more positive, and even still, it's not necessarily like a triumphant, like happy album, but I mean, I still wanted there to be some hope in some of these songs. And for me, this song is about, yeah, just hoping and feeling that I can grow to be able to be someone who can be like a supportive person and someone who will be always there for someone, if that all makes sense without without going into too much detail.
Fair enough, and thank you for sharing that. And I want to. It is a phenomenal. So it is a top tier song. I got
Thank you.
goose pimples listening to it the very first time. It was pretty it was just like an unbelievable feeling hearing it. Like, wow, this is a very transformative track. And then between you and Ian, it's just ridiculous. So thank you for that. And again, I'm sorry, if it helped you through some tough times to make the track, and that's good too.
Absolutely. Well, I feel, yeah, for me as well, like when I like to, I guess it will also come up with a song later on, Let Me Disappear. But for me, like I just like to, I don't know, express myself, get these feelings out, and then hope that people can find their own meaning from it as well, or find something in it that isn't my story, because I feel like if it's too attached to what I have to say, then it's going to be hard for people to imagine it as anything else. So yeah, I think for this song in particular, it can be kind of interpreted in many different ways. So yeah. Anyways.
Right on. The next track is Miasma, the Ripper, featuring Winston McCall, Parkway Drive.
Yes. So yeah, this song is a bit more of a bit more of an aggressive, pissed off track. I'm not sure, I guess, what was in the bio thing that you were speaking of earlier, but talking of this track, this song was kind of born out of a bit of tension that was in the band, and we were able to kind of resolve it by kind of coming together before we came into the studio, spending some time away in like a little holiday house and kind of just hashing it out and then working on music together. I guess for a little while there was just like a little bit of tension between Jon and I, and maybe feeling like there wasn't maybe enough communication going on, or feeling like we were collaborating in a way that everyone was feeling like they were getting heard or they were being heard. So for me, this song was kind of born out of that kind of frustration and feeling like I wasn't able to kind of, yeah, use my voice. But interestingly enough, as this song was coming together, Jon and I ended up having a little chat about it all, and he was like really, I was like terrified to show him and tell him like that's what the song's about. But in the end, he was just like, yeah, like I understand, and like have some ideas of how we can then expand this song to then make that message even stronger and make it feel like it hits even like better, I guess. And it was just like a really interesting kind of exercise in just being, once again, being communicative and like being open and being able to just like express yourself, and just showing how like if you're just open with your friends and the people you're close with, like the worst that's going to happen is you'll have a disagreement, but you're going to figure it out in the end. So yeah, this song is kind of born out of some frustration there, but kind of then turned into something quite, yeah, cathartic, and like kind of pulled us out of that. So yeah, this is a really special song.
Right on. A band, I like to say your family is a friend you can't get rid of, but your
Mhm.
band is the family you want to keep if you can.
Yeah,
And, it's a tough business, and sometimes, things get in the way, but it's nice that you guys were able to work on it and get a song out of it. Of course, the next
absolutely.
the next track is Kraft with a K, like the cheese here
Hmm.
in America, featuring Brendon, whose last name I don't want to butcher, but he's wonderful, so props to Brendon for his screams.
Padjasek. It
Thank
took
you.
me a while. It took me a while to get it as well, but we just call him Lil Dennis anyway.
No,
So
that's great. With a guy with a difficult last name to say, which is why everyone calls me Keefy or Ghost Cult Keefy. It's like the Ramones had it right. Just skip your last name and go with your,
yeah,
you know, Marcus Northlane. Let's just do that.
yeah.
Tell us about the
I've got
song.
an easy last name, so that's fine.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. So yes, Kraft. I guess Kraft is just a pretty straight up pissed off song. Just about, I don't know, I guess feeling like someone maybe could have had your back, but then they didn't. I know this is another song I don't want to get too deep into, but yeah, I think for us it was also just like an awesome time to get Brendon back on a track. And like as this song was starting to come together, it kind of had that rappy first verse kind of introduction thing that was already there, and it felt like something that Brendon and I would back and forth on back on the Alien kind of tracks. And it's actually an interesting story. So Brendon plays in a band called Structures, and their drummer Andrew, he was picking us up from the airport and driving our gear and us to the studio, and we came out to New Jersey to record. And he stuck around for a little while to take some pictures and stuff. And then during that, at some point, Brendon just was like messaging him, like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys busy? Do you mind if I like come down for a little while?" And we're like, "Of course, come hang out." And as soon as Brendon came back to hang out, it was just like, oh, just like old times. As soon as he came back and we were like working on this song, it's like we should just get him back on a track and see if he's interested. And yeah, it was just like an awesome kind of reconnection to that five-piece thing we had going on, and just feels like he never left whenever we're hanging out with him. So yeah, it was great to have him back on, and the track turned out awesome. It feels like a classic kind of Brendon and Marcus back and forth, and yeah, I'm stoked on it.
Right on. You drop fire bars on this track, and I said last time I would love to have you rap some more. I think you do it exceptionally well.
Thank
And
you.
let's just give thanks and praise to Will Putney for a second, who recorded this and had worked with the
Hmm.
band. Former Ghost Cult interviewee, graciously. I did an interview with him where he just talked about how he records bands and how he interprets music to produce, and I felt smarter when I left the interview. Like, oh, I've been studying music like for a good portion of my whole life, and I feel a lot smarter now having hung out with him. Is it like that working with him, where you just feel better? Like he makes everybody better.
Absolutely. I had such a great time working with him as well. Yeah, his ability to, I guess, just make things work and flow. Yeah, like his workflow makes everything feel so smooth. Like I think it was one of the smoother vocal tracking processes I've ever had, just because yeah, he's been doing it for so long. His process is just down. If you can kind of slot into what he does, like it just works so well. And yeah, just even popping in to then watch the rest of the recording process go down with him working on, some of the more electronic stuff and like the modular stuff with Jon. How he like kind of pulls guitar tones and stuff. Like it's all stuff because I love all kind of aspects of music as well, more than just singing. So just watching and learning, yeah, how he's tracking guitars and how he's stacking guitars, like all those little things. It's just like wow, there's so much interesting stuff that he just has as like muscle memory. So yeah, it was really a lot of the time was just fun to kind of sit in and just watch him work and kind of try and pick little pieces of what he's doing. Yeah, it was a great experience for sure.
Amazing. Of the two last tracks, the first is "Let Me Disappear."
So yeah, Let Me Disappear, I mentioned kind of briefly earlier, but I guess this song's it's about me kind of wanting to just leave my thoughts and feelings about the songs and what I kind of write about in the songs. I guess, like I said, I'm an introvert and I kind of just like to keep to myself. So I'm not someone who's constantly, posting on social media and stuff. And I'm someone who just kind of likes to put the music out there and kind of just let that do the talking, play the shows and do whatever else needs to be done. But like, I don't know, I guess I kind of just always remember growing up and enjoying bands and only really knowing them because of the CD. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know much about them besides here's the album art and whatever. And I feel like that was something that whenever an artist like that comes around and is able to just let their music do the talking, that's something that's always a lot more enticing and interesting to me. And it makes you want to explore the music even more deeply. And I mean, obviously, we're in a time where people are going to want to know a lot more than maybe they need to. But if I can kind of express myself as much as I can in our music and then let that do the talking, then I'll be happy, I guess, if that
Alrighty.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Imagine in the future there's going to be a time it's like, hey there, young peoples. Remember there was a time when we didn't have these things in our pocket that had like everything on a band and social media and websites
Yeah,
and band camps and
I'm getting
Spotify's and
there.
things. Yeah,
I'm getting to that age. I'm getting it's like I
yeah.
wish I remember before social media. I remember when MySpace turned up. That's crazy. And then
Re-
disappeared.
MySpace bands, all bands Parkway was one of those bands that literally
Hmm.
came from MySpace into the consciousness. It was pretty incredible.
I'm pretty
Tr-
sure I ripped Horizons from MySpace because it was like they put the whole album on. Don't tell Winston, but yeah, it's definitely stole Horizons off MySpace.
they're not hurting for $10. It's okay, or whatever it is over there, 10 shekels, pounds,
I'll give it to him next time I see him.
10 rupees. Buy him a beer. The final track is the first track we heard from the record, and it's a pretty lengthy boy, Dante. And I was wondering if that had some connotation, some Dante's Inferno connotation there.
It actually doesn't. Like, I mean, there is like a slight, I guess, the very loosely, I guess, if anything, yeah, just the idea of ball of fire, like a great ball of kind of going up in flames is a loose theme to it. But I mean, yeah, for us, this is it's quite a personal song again. It's about a friend of ours who passed away, but also kind of connect to like anyone and connect to like, a relationship kind of fizzling out, whether that be a friendship or like a romantic relationship, whatever it might be. And I guess the idea is of when it comes to like grief and feeling this pain over something that's happened or feeling this pain over loss, it's like really easy to go into yourself and feel like this is hurting me and this is hurting, how am I going to deal with this, when in the end the person who, was hurting so much that they felt the need to leave or, maybe take their life, like what were they going through and like what is it for us to kind of feel upset. And like I don't know, I just started feeling or thinking about maybe like the selfishness of kind of being in your own guilt when someone else is kind of obviously hurting so much. And that's natural, obviously, but I think it's important to still maybe be able to step back and be like, well, this isn't about me right now. This is, about this person and the people close to them. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's once again one of those songs that I want people to be able to connect with in their own way. But for us, it's like a really important and emotional song for us, I guess. It came together really quickly, like a little while after, yeah, a friend of ours had passed away, and we just, as soon as it was kind of, towards the end of being complete, we're like, yeah, we know this song's done, and we know like we're really happy with this, but it's hitting kind of hard. So yeah, it's a really special one for us.
Right on. Sorry for your loss. These are, these losses are adding up as we get into our lives here, and
Yeah.
we've been no stranger to those same exact things here. Our family has suffered this here at the website, and personally, a lot of losses also of the same nature. And
Yeah.
the one I don't know about, I really hope the healthcare is better where you are in the world than when we are here. But like one
Yeah.
thing that's really not given enough attention is mental health and the respect it deserves, and especially being rock and metal guys, it's always like those crazy band dudes, right? And it's like, that stereotype's a little old
Yeah.
fashioned, and like I get it, crazy, sells and looks cool, and oh, what is he gonna do now, but at the
Yeah.
same time, people have real demons and struggles, and we need to listen a little more and talk a little less when it comes to these things.
Yeah, well, I think that's as well what kind of coming into this recording process, what I was saying about there being a little bit of tension. Like, it doesn't have to be something that just builds up and you just like explode at each other one day and the band disbands, you know. It's like, I think it's something we also learned from Parkway was watching their like little mini documentary thing they did about a year ago, talking about their inner tension. And it's like the only thing that's going to come out of that is something good. It's like you're going to, yeah, people are going to be heard, people are going to understand each other better, and you're hopefully, unless you're a dick, you're going to be able to like understand that and work on that together, or kind of separate because your differences are so great. But in the end, I think it's better to be open and out there and honest about how you feel, both in your mental health and in just how you feel with your relationships. And yeah, there's nothing to be kind of afraid of in that way. And I think that's also what's important to me in writing music, is that it's talking about real stuff and stuff that people might also be a bit maybe scared to talk about or maybe a bit hesitant to go into. So anyways, that's my thoughts on that.
Fair. And also, I think a lot of people have probably rightfully so leaned on your music for relief, which is great to know, and is a comfort in a lot of ways, even though you sing about difficult topics sometimes. I had a different last question for you, but now I'm
Mhm.
looking at this room you're in, and I'm seeing these this shelf of books to the side of you. Is this your comic collection? Is this graphic novels you have?
Yeah, this is my Marvel side of the collection. I don't have as much. I've got like a big shelf out there that's got my DC collection on it. But yeah, that was another like end of lockdown thing I just started getting pretty deep into, is comic books, getting back into that. So I've spent way too much money on trade paperbacks in the last little while.
I don't know. You have a favorite of the ones that are there with you in the room? Do you have a favorite Marvel?
Favorite Marvel one? I guess at the moment maybe Cosmic Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's merged with what has he done? What's he done again? He's merged with Frank Castle, the Punisher, but then he's also made an alliance with Galactus. I don't know if this means anything to anyone, but made an alliance with Galactus, so he's like cosmic, and now he's trying to like kill baby Thanos. It's just all a lot. It's a lot.
Amazing. I'd like to see them take one more run at Ghost Rider. Not sure if that's going to happen or not, but I would like to see them take another run in a modern way at Ghost Rider. And I'm a big Marvel
Absolutely.
person myself, and I will tell you that all these new, I don't know if you're a big Star Wars person, but all the new Star Wars shows that are being
Yep.
planned and some of the movies, even
Hmm.
though they're not officially canon anymore. I'm going to nerd out heavily and just say that I used to read the IDW Star Wars graphic novels heavily
Absolutely.
way back in the day, probably before Marcus was little and reading. And those things like the High Republic, the Acolyte TV show that just got announced,
Mhm.
some of the movies that are being made are some of those book stories. So I hope they make it into the shows because the
That would be sick.
storytelling was phenomenal. And IDW is always a wonderful brand for comics also. So
Absolutely.
you only had Marvel and DC for the longest time, and then Image, of course, with Tom
Yeah.
McFarlane and Spawn, and now others. But yeah, I had to. I couldn't stop looking over your shoulder there. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I love it. Next time we'll just have to go just deep into comic books.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
bring all my other ones in.
Yeah, let's do a comic episode sometime, or just a comic podcast, and just nerd
Yeah.
out. Much appreciated. Always to see you. Such a lovely fellow, such a great band. Congrats on the new EP, Mirror's Edge, coming out soon. Marcus, man, you're the best. Thanks so much for hanging with Ghost Cult.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate it. Take it easy.